Ladies and gentlemen, at a time when it feels like there's absolutely no justice for conservatives or anybody who's connected in any way, shape, or form with January 6th, we have been handed a victory. I have prevailed on all counts against me in the civil lawsuit that was leveled against me by 8 Capitol police officers. From the very beginning, like so many other things connected with January 6th, this case was a complete and total lie. The plaintiffs in this case are 8 Capitol police officers, most of whom are black and brown. And they're all being represented pro bono by the Soros-funded nonprofit law firm out of Washington, D.C., Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Here are the lawyers that drove this case to proceed against me. And these are the Capitol police officers who participated in this farce. What's really sick and twisted and disturbing about this case is that it not only exists by perpetuating forward the many, many lies being exploited by the left about January 6th, but also the many, many lies being perpetuated and exploited by the left about race. These Capitol police officers participating as plaintiffs in this case, mostly whom are black and brown, sued me, along with numerous other people, under the KKK Act, alleging a civil rights conspiracy against them, and alleging that this was a white supremacist attack against them. The lies that they concocted to drive their case forward included alleging that I engaged in the riot by joining with hundreds of attackers on the U.S. Capitol grounds, and that I appeared before crowds repeating Trump's false election fraud claims and made threats of violence to stop the count of the electoral votes. They go on to quote an example of that. Strzok told a crowd at a November 6, 2020 rally in Detroit that people are out of their effing minds if they think that we're going to sit down quietly and allow them to steal this election. Strzok proclaimed, "We are not going to take it," directed others to never ever back down, and pledged he would do whatever needs to be done to make sure that Donald Trump is victorious as our president for 4 more years. But I think that my favorite allegation against me by these 8 Capitol police officers and their Soros-funded nonprofit law firm was that I violently breached barricaded areas of the Capitol grounds and the Capitol building and attacked the police officers guarding the Capitol, including the plaintiffs. So here's a fun fact. In this case, we actually entered discovery. And through the course of discovery, we asked the plaintiffs to identify exactly where they were throughout the day, their exact locations. And as it turned out, none of them were working on the side of the Capitol where I was. One of them was in Maryland at the time that I was at the Capitol. Nonetheless, I was being accused of violating these officers' civil rights, and I was also being accused of assault and battery against them. Even though, after being investigated by the FBI, the DOJ, and the January 6th committee for an entire year, I was never accused of any violent crimes and never accused of any assault and battery whatsoever in my criminal proceedings. Main reason why? Because I didn't commit any. Nor did I commit any violence of any kind, any vandalism, any theft, any destruction, and I did not enter the Capitol building. But more than 2 years later, after I was served in this civil lawsuit, and $150,000 later defending myself, I have come out victorious in this case. All counts against me have been dismissed, every single one. The plaintiffs, aka their lawyers, were given the option to refile 2 counts against me in district court, to which my attorney responded to them, "Counsel, I write in hopes that we can conclusively end your client's misguided inquisition against Brandon Strzok. I appreciate the court's timing of the jurisdiction ruling. Before the ruling, Mr. Strzok produced all relevant documents to you. Those documents, along with the recent release of myriad video files from the Oath Keepers trial, show that even in the most creative legal fantasy, there is no causation between Mr. Strzok's presence, and that's all it was, presence, on the Capitol grounds on January 6, 2021, and your client's injuries, whatever they might be. If you file more lies against Mr. Strzok, for example, that he directed anybody to do anything tortious that day, we'll seek sanctions. We already have a strong case for some of Mr. Strzok's legal fees. You presented a conspiracy theory based solely on Mr. Strzok's public speeches and should have known and advised your clients that such does not a conspiracy make. whether under the Civil Rights Act or basic tort law. These lying, unethical, race-baiting scumbags got back to us with a letter signed by all of the Soros-funded attorneys and the Capitol Police Officer plaintiffs stating, "This case is over." Chalk up a win for the good guys. Let's never forget who these people are and what they tried to do. It can be very discouraging as the left has weaponized our courts to abuse us, but we won this battle. So hang in there, patriots.